Film is very much about many betrayals. It's about the betrayal of the United States towards Laos and how other betrayals then are begot through that betrayal. And we see that running all the way through the family. And so this film is really a family drama, but in the background you see what happens during the war, and you see what happens to the people who fought our wars for us and what happens to them 20 years after.
This is your story. What does this mean to you?
It means a lot for me as well as for all the Laotian people around the globe, basically, because through this film, I believe that our story is going to be heard now. For 20 years, since what happened to our country, no one know or anyone ever acknowledged that this story, this thing really happening.
Would you classify this as an anti-war film? And if so, is that what you intended when you started?
Very much so, because I think that we have a responsibility as a government that when we go into another country to fight a war, that we have to think about the people that we get to hire and then we hire to fight our wars for us in that country and what happens to them in the aftermath, particularly when they come to this country. And that's what this story is about, is what happened to a family who ultimately was resettled in the States and the responsibility or the irresponsibility that we bore towards them. How
did this all come to be?
Well, I started making the film in 1984, believe it or not. So I've been working on this film for 23 years. Oh, and in the course of making the film, in the very beginning, I wanted to learn how to speak Lao. So I put the word out in the community in Brooklyn because I knew that there was a small group of Laotians living there, and somebody gave my name to Tavi. And Tavi called me and he said, who are you? And why do you want to learn my language? I mean, at that time, no one knew where Laos was and still doesn't. And Tavi didn't know, anybody who knew anything about Laos. And so I started taking lessons with him. And in the course of taking those lessons, we'd have many, many conversations that lasted late into the night. And in the course of those conversations came this film.
And were you kind of hesitant at first, or did you see this as an opportunity to tell your story, or were you a little nervous about it?
At the very beginning, I just come in to be, because I know Ellen wanted to make a film about Laos, so I want to be her, any support of any way I can to have her to do whatever she needs to do. But then I realized that I become a subject matter. I become a subject of the film. I don't even know how it began. I think after so many hours and days that we spent time together, and I think we realized that we both have a parallel sort of philosophy, that she's have a very strong Eastern philosophy. I mean, a Western philosophy, and I have those kind of heritage from my own, ancestor. And I think and then for somehow, we managed to find each other's way, intertwine that. And we both want to say something to the world. Mm-hmm. And then, so here I am, become a subject, because even though the film is about my life, but this film is beyond that, and that's why I'm very comfortable being a subject of the film, because it's not only about Tavi, it's about philosophy, it's about, the human dignities and values and everything else that involved with it.
By people hearing your story and understanding it, is it a healing process for you and your family?
Through my family, it's a healing process. Through the Laotian also is a healing process. It's a sort of justify in the sense that their story is being told, mm-hmm. even though the story about one family story, but is representing of all Laotian story, because we came to the same past, the same history, the same obstacle and struggle that we have.
อยู่เมืองลาวนี่ดีกว่าอยู่นี่อีกมาอยู่อเมริกาแบบสิมันเสียหายมีแต่ความเสียหายอยู่เมืองนี่นะคันเฮาบ่จังซี่บ่มาบาทตีนึงก็บ่มาอเมริกานี่บ่เป็นประมาทบ่สนุกกินสนานแต่พวกเด็กน้อยนี่มันบ่มีหัวใจแล้วมันก็บ่รู้จักที่สภาพการเบื้องหลังผ่านมาความทุกข์เป็นจังได๋
คิดในแม่สู่ก็ได้สู่มีพ่ออยู่ใส่มาเลี้ยงสู่อ้ายหันพานี่พาแม่เล่นต้องต่อต้องต่อยคันว่าอยู่ศูนย์ก็ไอ้ซุกไอ้ตู้เบกหลัวเบกพื้นขึ้นภูวังวิ่งสู่ยังบ่เห็นความทุกข์มาแล้วสู่เลี้ยงสู่ใหญ่ขึ้นมาเฮานี่อ้างแต่อยากหนีจากแม่เว้าหยังอ้างแต่อยากหนีจากแม่บ่อึดบ่นอยู่บ่อึดแล้วของแนวใหญ่ล่ะไผก็อยากได้เฮ็ดเมียสิอึดบ่เวลากูเลี้ยงทุกข์บ่เห็นมีไผมารับเอา หาเก็บกินหั่นกินนี่ใบไม้ใบตอกอยู่ในศูนย์บ่เห็นมีไผมารับเอาสู่คำบ่แม่นแม่เลี้ยงกันก็ว่าสิเลยคิดเป็นหยังคิดใส่แม่อีต้นแม่แน่เป็นหยังมัดเท่านั้นเด็กน้อยนี่
This film seems to really capture a really big story. How did that process evolve for you?
I didn't want to make a film, a cinema verite film. That is, I didn't want to follow someone around every single day. In my mind, I wanted to make a film which was about philosophy, which was about the world, the Lao worldview, which was about our worldview in a way and how they intersect and how they differ. And in that, and I wanted to make a film that was a poem, basically, through the stories that he remembered. And he remembered so many, so poetically, that those are the stories that I wanted to use as the spine of the film. And in the course of us talking about, let's say, Tavi said, when I was 8 years old, my grandmother asked me, do you want to know where your umbilical cord is buried? Yes, I said, I want to know. So she showed me the place on the Mekong. And she said, you have to remember this place no matter where you go or who you become. Even if you become a rich man, you have to remember because this is the place where your spirit will return to upon its death. And so those kinds of stories then were more universal. And so Tavi understood that, and that's why we work so well together and why our collaboration is still really rich and strong.